Amazing. Well, I mean, education in this space is always needed as this adoption continues to thrive. So we're super pumped, and we're going to talk more about that in just a bit. But right now, I want to go over this story, and then you and I are going to chat about it in regards to corporate treasuries. So hang 10, and we'll be back with you in just a sec. Sound good?
Let's do it.
All right. So here comes the corporate gold rush, only instead of pickaxes, it's MBAs with Bloomberg terminals. At today's current pace, more than 10,000 public companies could hoard over 8 million Bitcoin by 2030, which when you do the finger maths, tells you that nearly 40% of the supply will be held by corporate holders. Today, less than 1% of companies are in on Bitcoin, but if adoption keeps accelerating, corporate America will be halfway through the cake before retail even lights the candles. Analyst Crypto King says this could trigger a supply shock. Picture Black Friday at Walmart, but instead of flat screens, everyone's trampling each other for Satoshis. And the timing, perfectly chaotic. India, yes, the same country that once tried banning Bitcoin like it was a shady DVD bootleg, is now weighing a state-backed Bitcoin reserve. Meanwhile, Glassnode data shows illiquid supply is at record highs, or in other words, coins are disappearing into cold storage, institutional vaults, and hardware wallets that haven't been touched since Obama was in office. Now, unlike exchange balances, those coins aren't coming back, which means every new buyer has to fight over what's left. Bitcoin is sitting around 115K currently, with supply vanishing and corporations gobbling up millions of coins. We're staring at a squeeze. Too many buyers and not enough Bitcoin to go around. That's how melt-ups happen. That's how six-figure Bitcoin happens. And that's how your kids one day ask why you didn't refinance the house in 2025. We're bringing Avi back. Avi, analysts say over 10,000 companies could end up holding 8 million Bitcoin by 2030. That would be nearly 40% of the supply. Is that bullish for adoption, or is that dangerous centralization? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is a good question. I think it's something that people will answer quickly and say it's very bullish for the space. It does go back to, who you are as a Bitcoiner, in terms of having everything decentralized. Strategy now owns 630,000, I believe, plus Bitcoin. They're buying rapidly, as you mentioned. Metaplanet, 21. There's over, I think, 117 different companies today. And as you mentioned, it's just going to be coming more and more. And so my question, I think, to pose to your audience is, as an investor, right, maybe this is the top 5 to 10 end up winning and coming away with it. But every company now, it's very interesting. I always say now Bitcoin is your new employee, right? They're the ones that are producing the income year on year. And so it is fascinating when you hear Saylor. I'm excited actually to go to Tim Kotzman's conference here in New York. They're going to be putting that one on with a lot of treasury companies. So hope to hear from a lot of these guys. And we've had the opportunity to speak with a lot of them too on the Bitcoin Economy podcast. But yeah, going back to your question, I think it's got to be bullish, right? As you mentioned, they're holding. They're not coming in to buy. The second they sell and show weakness, investors aren't going to like that either, right? And so they're incentivized to hold. It's more of a capital play at this point, I think. And Saylor seems to be very good at raising money.
Yeah, he's the best at it, that's for sure. And yeah, it's definitely bullish if you already own Bitcoin, but then it does beg the question, right? If corporate treasuries become the dominant buyers, do you think retail investors who aren't already in the game risk being completely priced out? Or will there be like new tools that are leveling the playing field as we move forward? What do you think?
Yeah, I actually spoke with I think it was the CEO of Hive that I was speaking with, who mentioned they kind of switched this narrative to Satoshis, right? Because I agree. If you go and tell your friend to go buy something $120,000 that they don't really know much about, that's a little uninviting to a lot of the newcomers, right? And so speaking in Satoshis, I don't know if that's even the right format. That's 100,000 basically, equates to close to $100, right? And so that feels like crazy inflation. So I don't know if I have the right answer, but it feels like there should be something slightly in between. And the beauty of Bitcoin is you don't need to necessarily own a whole Bitcoin, right? When Bitcoin's $13 million, like Saylor predicts, you're doing fine if you have 0.1%, or 0.1 Satoshis there. So
now, Avi, I want to switch gears a little bit. This has been an interesting Bitcoin cycle. We've got a lot of new narratives going on this year that we haven't had in years past, and I would love to get your 2 cents on a couple of them. To start, Bitcoin ETFs. we've seen this is Bitcoin's kind of going mainstream right now. I mean, BlackRock, Fidelity, everyone's doing it. Do you feel like these ETFs are helping Bitcoin adoption, or is it maybe just turning it into another Wall Street product for the fat cats out there? What do you think?
I mean, this is definitely a topic that is debated. I think it's inevitable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's no rules stopping someone from buying Bitcoin, and so that's just the reality. Right. And I do think, as I was talking about before, is that the treasury companies and these ETFs, they allow you a proxy basically to get in front of Bitcoin with a click of a button from your brokerage. So I like it. I think it's ultimately bringing more attention, more interest into the space. It is certainly changing the dynamics, of inflows and outflows, and so it definitely adds an element to that we didn't have before. But I also think it adds a layer of security in terms of I can't envision, and again, not financial advice, but it would be shocking to see another 80% drawdown, at this point. I could see it draw down, of course, maybe 20, 30%, 40% max. But it just feels like with these ETFs, with the amount of, treasury companies specifically that are going to continue to hold, it's just going to be harder and harder to manipulate the market, at least for now. But I know I'll probably kick myself later for saying that. But yeah. So I think I answered your initial question. It's also Friday for me, so my brain's headed towards the weekend. But happy to stick on here.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I would agree with you. I mean, it feels like the support floor for Bitcoin is certainly a lot more solid than it's ever been. And you kind of have to be kidding yourself to think that Bitcoin was ever going to make it to six figures and institutions weren't going to come calling for their slice of the pie. That's just a little naive from where I stand. But yeah, I think it was inevitable. And ultimately, I do think it's a good thing if you like number go up, which I do. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And to your point, you talked about,
I think
okay. Yeah. Go ahead, please.
I think we have a gap here. I was saying that, that you want to separate the treasury companies from the ETFs. ETFs make money either direction, right? And so they don't care. Right. They'll spin up an ETF for anything if they see a market for it. But the treasury companies are really unique. But definitely do your own due diligence on some of these companies. I've seen like coffee companies buy a quarter of a Bitcoin, call themselves a treasury company. So you got to be careful and make sure what you're buying, but that goes with any investment, equities or Bitcoin products.
Yeah, and with these institutional inflows that we've been seeing, it's been begging this new question that's been on a lot of people's minds, and it's, will these having 4-year cycles be the same as they were in the past, or are we kind of entering a new phase of Bitcoin where maybe it's just kind of slow and steady up and to the right in a way that we haven't seen before? What's your take on that? Are the 4-year cycles still in play, or is history now about to be a little bit different as we move forward to the future?
Yeah, very much an opinion here. And again, I feel like you have to repeat this. We got to get rid of this rule that you have to say non-financial advice every time, because we are here for entertainment, of course. But in my opinion, I think it's just going to continue to tighten, right? So I think the drawdowns are going to be less. I think the upswings eventually will be less too, right? I think we're going to get to a point 10 years out, where it just starts going from like crazy volatility like this to like slowly coming to something that probably resembles gold more so, over time, where the price is still going up. But it's interesting. I don't think anyone knows the full answer, right? But in my opinion, I think, again, with the ETFs, with the treasury companies, with nation states starting to buy, right, it's a no-brainer at this point. I mean, you got to pay attention if you're not. Now is the time to wake your friend up and tell them about Bitcoin. Yeah.